Hello. Thank you for letting me come there to you today virtually. My colleagues Jen and Christy and Inning are there with you, and they're absolutely fantastic eCore team. I helped them to create or recreate the Introduction to Psychology class, and it was a really phenomenal experience to work with such a talented team. So when they asked me if I would like to be part of looking at one aspect of that course, the reflections, and to participate in the conference, I was super excited, but I'm walking, or just finished probably yesterday, the Camino, walking from Tomar, Portugal, which is near Lisbon, up to Santiago, Spain. So I wasn't able to come and be in person. So I hope you forgive me. My name is Professor Carla Bloom. I teach at the College of Coastal Georgia. I'm a psychology professor. So today what I wanted to try to do is to give you some enhancement from a professor's standpoint regarding the use of reflections in an online class. I also think it would work in a non-online class. However, my perspective comes from teaching online. I'm going to make 3 points today about reflections. Reflections is a type of awakening or personal agency with academic material. 2, reflection is a way to involve the kind of informal classroom students, which can often be peers of the student in their non-virtual world, and a sharing of experiences. And 3, a type of a way to talk about reflections as breaking the fourth wall, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So first, when we asked the students to do the reflections, and as Jen and Christy and Inning have probably told you, they're either right there or over here, or maybe they're down here. But they have already done an introduction to you, I imagine. So as a professor, you get to choose whatever you want them to reflect on. We designed the course with eCore with 10 reflections going across a very wide spectrum of psychologically related topics, such as grit, or flow, or meditation, mental health. For my first example, I'm going to take an example from a student that was learning about the concept of flow. And flow is an academic concept about, you may know about this concept, but the person that talks about it most is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And what he says is that when you're in a very sort of calm state, highly focused, highly engrossed, low anxiety but enough challenge, you can enter this kind of bubble of flow where you can be highly creative and have high levels of concentration to problem solve. So it's a very positive learning state to be in. We had students read some of the literature on flow, and then we asked them to reflect upon it, just to write a paragraph talking about, have there been a time that you have experienced flow? And this is a quote from one of our students. She says, "Learning about flow in this lesson was very interesting to me. It's strange because I feel like I've experienced this before. But if it's exactly what it was, I'm not sure or not. I used to be really into writing in middle school and high school. I literally wrote like half a book in middle school. I can't even remember what it was about, but I just love the feeling of creating something completely from my own imagination." Absolutely perfect example of flow from that student. So what the student gains from this is a sense of personal agency. Like, I think I understand that concept. I learn the concept vis-a-vis my own life experiences and can reflect and synthesize these two worlds, this literature and my own personal experience, in a way that I could hand it to my professor and say, what would be different than memorizing the concept or being quizzed on the concept, to say, just wait, Dr. Bloom, I get this. Let me tell you about this experience where I bring my own world. I call it a kind of awakening. I'm awakened to my own world as having academic, I have an academic understanding of this concept based on my personal life history. The second example I want to talk to you about is, I think we sometimes forget, we think, oh, the students online, they don't have a classroom, to turn to someone to have a discussion. We set up a discussion zone, of course, and I'm sure you do if you teach online, so you can get the students to interact with one another. But I think sometimes we forget that the students have opportunity to take their learning to their own kind of informal classroom. They can go with a partner or a grandmother or a mother, and in the reflection on nature, the physiological and mental health benefits to being outside in the woods or taking a walk, really just being outside with a person that they can do the reflection with. And if you think about your own life, often you do some of your best kind of life moments of maybe aha when you're reflecting with another person. So this student is given a task to go out into nature with somebody and to walk and to reflect upon that. This student writes in the reflection, generally, I don't go out too much, but we both think it would be a good idea to do stuff like this more, as we both felt better, and it gave us a chance to catch up since both of us are usually too busy with schoolwork and other stuff like that to see each other. It was nice to see each other without having to necessarily do something. Just walk around and enjoy each other's company. Hopefully we'll actually be able to do more things like this, as I felt like it helped us both. So here you have a piece of academic material given an online format, being asked to do something with a classmate that is in their peer group or in their family, for him to take the material, to discuss it along this walk, and they both come to a conclusion this in fact was a very valuable exercise, deepening his understanding of the literature on the topic. It's really a beautiful moment, I think, for that particular student. There were other examples like this where the student said, I didn't realize this, or I forgot how beautiful it is to be outside. A third example I want to give you is not specifically related to any one reflection, but rather to a series of reflections in the course that ask students to really look inside and to connect material, but to really express themselves. And when I was reading some of the ones on grit, and they're absolutely riveting, I read every single one and gave feedback for every single student, as it really woke me up to the real human side to online students. Not that we don't see their human side, but truly these reflections, asking them, in particular for me about grit, created a deep humanistic connection with them. I felt like when Maslow and Carl Rogers said you must feel empathy and have unconditional positive regard and be genuine and feel genuinely engaged with students, that they elicited all of that so immediately and in a way I think is rare in an online environment. So the reflection worked for me as a professor in that way, and it was transformative to me. It also reminded me of, in theater, there's a concept called the fourth wall. And the fourth wall is, in theater, there's the audience, and then there's the stage. And so those on the stage don't interact with those in the audience unless it's written that way, where someone on stage would turn and wink or say, hey, did you get that? Typically, it's not very common, even in theater, to do something like that, or even film, that there's a wall. Professors often, and I think we know this, that even if we ask students to be in groups or to engage with one another, that there's always a fourth wall in the room, and the fourth wall is you don't speak personally about any of this material, or you don't do it too much. So I was thinking, it's like, and I don't mean to be negative, but the word is kind of pesky. So you have the pesky student that's always like, hey. And it's always about their grandmother or about their child or about when they were a kid. And you might think, this is really important that the student expresses themselves, but I can't do it here because it starts to bother other students that really think that some time is being taken up from them. So the reflection permits a breaking through of the fourth wall, permitting the pesky student to have something to say. But what I'm bringing to you today is to try to understand that pesky students, they have something to say. What they're trying to do is to relate with you in a very deeply humanistic, human way to the material. And the online environment gives you the opportunity to let them connect with you in this way. You have a safe, beautiful place in a reflection where the student can do this type of work and this type of learning that's important to them. So I hope you have a great time and are able to do some of the reflection work yourself here today. And thank you for sharing this space, and I'll hopefully be there face-to-face with you next year perhaps. All right, thanks to my team. Good luck. Have a great time with the rest of the presentation. Thank you.